And on today's video, I'm going to be covering for you guys the new moon in Cancer that happened on July 6th. Right now, I don't have the greatest lighting setup and my new space is pretty loud, so bear with me if you hear some sounds or like some fire trucks passing in the background. Yeah, that's just what I got going on right now. I will be having a mic again soon, so you guys will have better audio in the future. But today I wanted to cover our last new moon. We're now celebrating the new moon in Leo today on August 4th. And it's been a crazy month for me. July 1st, me and my family moved to a new space. If you guys have watched my previous videos, you've heard me talk about how stressed I was and how like overwhelmed I felt for the past year and a half, being in a space that and the environment just wasn't for me. So it feels really good to be back, and it feels really good to be in a space that I enjoy. So before we hop into it, I'll give you guys a little bit of background about me. If you're new to my channel, my name is Nicole Ballantyne. I'm a wellness entrepreneur. I'm an actress. I'm a mom. I'm a well-being influencer and content creator and so much more. And I also run an apothecary called Cole Apothecary, where I make sea moss gel, and sea moss is a sea algae that has 92 of 102 minerals the body needs, and it's just really good for your overall health. So that just gives you a little background about me and who I am. So what I've been doing for the past few years is covering the new moon and full moon transits and connecting the transits with the human design gates, as well as what is happening in our global climate, what's been trending, what are hot topics in the media, and how they relate to these transits and what is happening in the earth. So what I usually do for these videos is I make IG graphics that go along with them that are on my Instagram. So you can feel free to check out my Instagram, which is @withlovecole, same as my YouTube handle. And what I do there is kind of create a visual expression of what these videos are. I cover full moon and new moon mantras. I usually come up with a mantra or overall expression for the full moon and new moon. But I also give you guys self-care prompts, as well as writing prompts, things that you can journal about, questions you can ask yourself regarding the transit, and also human design gate reflections, which are basically like contemplations based on the actual transits that are happening and the energies that we're feeling. So if you like all of those things and you want kind of like a guide as you watch this video, feel free to go on my Instagram and see what I put there for the new moon in Cancer happening July 6th, or happened on July 6th. And you'll be able to follow along with what I'm sharing. So with all that being said, you guys will see me looking down at my notes because I have my computer here, where in my notes app, I basically write my full like transmission. And since I am going to be doing a lot of these videos today for the sake of catching up, I'll be looking a lot at my notes. And with that being said, feel free to, join the conversation. This is a live video, and if you're watching live, I would love for you to join the conversation and give me your input, give me your feedback. How did you experience the transits? I would love to hear and know. So let's hop into it. So this full moon, or excuse me, this new moon in Cancer that happened July 6th, I wrote shifting self-doubt as one of the mantras, and the other mantra was aligning with the universe, because this full moon is kind of bringing us back home to ourselves, and it's also reminding us that some things are out of our control, but it's all about falling back into the rhythm of the universe, because we are just as connected to Earth as everyone and everything else. And sometimes when we find ourselves feeling disconnected from our bodies and from the earth around us, and also just the flow, the energy flow, like the people around us, it's time for us to shift into a new gear, a new direction, and kind of bring ourselves back into the flow of everything around us, because it's one and the same. When we're out of sync with the universe, we're out of sync with ourselves. This new moon was in Cancer was also 14 degrees. So I'm going to talk very briefly about the 14th gate in human design, just because I want to connect the degree with the gate. So the 14 degrees is in Cancer is where the new moon was, and the 14th gate relates to bounteousness and wealth. So this full moon, you may be thinking of new ways to create wealth and income for yourself, or maybe new opportunities have shown itself. You may have been someone who recently moved as well, since the new moon is in Cancer, and Cancer is all about home and like curating our environment. It's also about what protects us and what makes us feel safe. And sometimes changing spaces really helps you feel safer. I knew that in my last space. If you saw my previous new moon and full moon videos, I covered the constellation Hydra, and Hydra had a lot to do with the violence and mistreatment of women, and that connection I saw in the sky I also was experiencing in my home life, in the sense that my neighborhood, even though I'm still pretty close to where I was once living, wasn't as safe. And just that change in my morphogenetic field, I feel so much safer. Literally the day we moved here, it was like an 180-degree change from what I was experiencing and feeling before, which was so crazy to me, that just being like, I'm not gonna say exactly where, but just a hop skip away from where I previously was, I had a whole different morphogenetic field and experience. So yes, as you're someone who's experiencing that or had experienced that during the time of this transit, you probably can definitely relate to what that energy and experience might feel like. And also, what we are coming up with, and when we talk about the 14th degree in relation to gate 14 in human design, we're also thinking about competence in action. Maybe the place you were before, you didn't have the ability to move around and be as flexible because of literally the constraints of your environment. And we know that like crabs are able, Cancer season, and so I'm talking about the crab, which is the archetype of the Cancer. They are able to move around, they're able to walk sideways, forwards, backwards. Crabs are very competent, and this ability to be competent and kind of go with the flow is so, so important for creating abundance and wealth. All right, so now that I've got that mouthful out, let's talk about some of the themes of the new moon in Cancer. So here are some themes that I wrote. I wrote provoke, temperance, silence, self-denial, manifest, light, struggle, centering, gratitude, reactivity, and violence. And just to talk a little bit about these themes, as you can see, they're kind of going from two extremes. The extreme of being provoked to being centered, the extreme of reactivity and violence to silence and temperance. And sometimes this is a reminder that we may be experiencing these extreme elements or moments in our lives because it's reminding us to center ourselves and to ground ourselves. Around this time, not too long after we had gate 39 and gate 38 transit, which transited during the new moon in Cancer, we had gate 52 transit not too long after, which is the gate of restraint and centering ourselves. And it's so, so important to be able to find moments of stillness so that we know how to handle people who are provoked or who are reactive or who are causing reaction in us or trying to cause reaction in us. When we have a moment of stillness, we're able to respond so, so much better. All right, so now let's talk about the new moon in Cancer, and here is the energy reading. Also, remember, all this information you can see on my Instagram if you prefer to read it as opposed to hear it. It's all there as well. So the new moon in Cancer, I wrote, this month consider your energetic agreements. What do you respond to, and what purpose does responding serve in your life? Life may feel like it's moving at a rapid pace and there's no room to slow down. When major changes occur at a collective level, we can feel moved to make drastic actions. Sometimes the best action is to take a pause and reflect before moving forward. Pausing can look like defeat when life is active, but this regrouping allows us to observe and pick a more strategic plan of action. It says, centering and grounding techniques before major decisions can be highly transformative this month. So as you guys know, I'm posting this after the transit, but I make these videos to be timeless. So if you ever want to hear a contemplation on the human design gates, you can always go back to this video or any of my videos on my channel and just see the contemplation and hear a little bit about the gate, because I also give some factual information about the gate as well as my subjective viewpoints and like overall contemplation, my personal way and or transmission and expression of the gene key gate. All right, so now let's talk about gate 39, the gate of obstruction. So in human design, gate 39 transited our conscious sun at the time of the new moon in Cancer, and gate 38 transited, which is the gate of opposition, it transited our conscious earth. And when we have this energy transiting, we can see it so clearly in our environment. During this time, we had some very extreme things happen in our planet in terms of what has happened with, our former president, and also just some extreme times. We're going through genocides throughout the world. People are becoming more extreme. We see this energy coming out online where people are fighting and bickering more. There's more conversations about relationship dynamics and like disharmony within relations at this time. So let's talk a little bit about now the 39th gate to see how we can move through this energy. So what I put for gate 39, obstruction, I wrote the soul versus the human. And then the quote I put here, and I do have the link for the quote. It says, without irritating grains of sand, oysters would never make pearls. So here's the reminder that obstruction and opposition is a part of life, and the energy of struggle that we feel in life actually helps liberate us, because when we're able to push past these struggles and gain the awareness needed to move forward, we can overcome, and we also can expand in our consciousness and awareness. So here for gate 39, I wrote, the soul feels so much even in its stillness. True liberation isn't the lack of provocation, but the ease of navigating in the midst of it. How do you develop during temporary obstacles? Oftentimes we want to boulder through difficulty when it's better to find ways to work around our situation. Think about ways you can reroute this month that makes you happy and also create solutions to temporary problems. Sometimes the lesson is allowing the dust to settle, and with waiting, the blocks remove themselves. Obstacles also can be easier handled in community, where many can come together and carry the load. Reflect on what you need to do and have to manage through temporary setbacks. And the beauty of that is the reminder that like sometimes pushing through when it's already showing signs that it is not going to change, the situation's not going to change, the person isn't going to change, it's going to cause us more pain and heartache as opposed to moving around the obstacle. For me, I realized trying to make that home livable and workable for me, I did the best I could. As you guys saw, I created a lot of content there, and it actually was kind of like, it felt like that old home space was a black hole that in the void I was able to create and do so much. But it was because I just had to work within the limits of my circumstances. But I also knew that in order to grow and just feel better and be in a space of joy and create from a true space of joy, I needed to leave the environment. So you might be considering that or thinking about that, and here's the reminder that sometimes you have to stick through it, similar to the oysters dealing with the grains of sand irritating it so that it can become a pearl. And then there's other times that like a truck that is feeling obstructed by maybe a construction site that like is, or a car that's feeling obstructed by a construction site where there may be many trucks and things. It may be better to just go on Waze and find a different route to get to the same destination or the same goal that you have. All right, so in between, I'm now going to stop and do a little self-care because we are talking about some heavy topics and subjects. So for self-care for the new moon in Cancer, that was July 6th, I wrote make an Ayurvedic tea. And Ayurveda or Ayurvedic practices are highly beneficial because they are rooted in ancient systems as well as within the earth. They're using the medicines of the earth to help heal our bodies and also regulate ourselves. So for me in particular, I've been working with matcha as opposed to coffee in the summertime. It definitely is a bit more regulating for me and it doesn't dry me out as much. I also have been working with St. John's wort. It's a herb that helps for anxiety. I'm trying to think what else. I feel like there's another herb I've been working with that has been beneficial. Calendula, which is really great for cleansing and grounding and protective. So these are, and also your immune system. So these are just some herbs that you can work with or even make teas with at this time. Next is practice restraint in moments of fear, because fear is a vibration and it's a vibration that can wreck our nervous system if we allow it. So being able to control that energy instead of acting in the moment of feeling fear, we can allow ourselves to move through the energy of being provoked, similar to how pearls have to stay there as the sand is irritating it, and get to the other side, as opposed to again being reactive or violent because you're not happy. Next is learn how to speak a new language. And this is going to be, when I say a new language, I'm not necessarily speaking about a language that is like a whole language like Spanish or French or Italian. I'm talking about language which could be learning a new belief system or having a new language to express yourselves. A lot of times we feel provoked or we provoke others because we are provoking through our speech codes. So here's a reminder to be mindful of your tone as you are going about your day, week, life, because sometimes we can provoke situations because of our tone. And I went through something like this recently. My partner and I have not necessarily been in the most amazing space because we have both been becoming new parents or being new parents and really learning what it is to navigate a relationship and grow a relationship while we're still also nurturing and tending to the life of a new child that came to the earth. So with that, it can be times where you're frustrated, aggravated. You may not have the time to down regulate or just regulate your nervous system the way you want to. And in those moments, you can find yourself being highly reactive instead of mindful of how you just deal with another person. Next is decorate a space in your home to reflect your energy. So in this new space, oops, sorry, my leg, but in this new space, as I'm still figuring out how to decorate it the way that I want, I created a little nook that I can record and I can, speak to you guys and just kind of enjoy. And sometimes it's about doing that while we're going through obstacles and obstructions. How do we make a home within our situation and within our environment where we can still feel emotionally safe, where we can still show up the way we want to? Cancer people are really good at this. Cancers can sometimes be moody or passive aggressive, but they also are really good at curating their space and nurturing themselves so that they can, move through that moodiness, move through that frustration. All right. And lastly, for self-care, practice swimming. It's Cancer season, and also I think there's a spiritual element, as I was talking about, learning to go with the flow of connecting with water. Our bodies are made up of over 70% water, and when we're able to connect with water, and also whether it's drinking it but also swimming with it, and understanding that water has an energy of its own flow and like chaos within the currents, like you can't predict the flow of water. Similarly, life is like that, and practicing swimming can really help us tune into that energy and remind ourselves that, like, how do I just move with the tides of life instead of trying to fight against it, or or trying to make it what it isn't, right? Okay, so now let's go back to the next human design gate. So gate 38 is the gate of opposition, and gate 38 transited during this time in our conscious earth. So gate 39 transited the sun, which is all about identity and values and how we show up in the world and even our physical being. And then the sorry, did I say the gate? I meant the sun, yes. And then gate 38, which transited our conscious earth, is all about the material plane and action and how we move forward. So here is gate 38, the gate of opposition, and I put the illusion of struggle, because struggle to some degree is an illusion if we're able to go with the flow and work with what life has given us. This gate, the physiology is in the adrenals, and we know that our adrenals can sometimes cause us to respond and react in a way, or if our adrenals are not operating or functioning right, we can become dysregulated, and within that dysregulation of our physical body, we cannot move forward in the most optimistic or ideal way. So here we're talking about our adrenals, and also the amino acid that connects to this gate is arginine. And if I'm correct, arginine is within a lot of leafy greens. So this month may be a really good time to connect with leafy greens and get that in your body so that you can navigate the transits that are, that are showing us that life right now could be a little hectic for us. So connecting with the plants that relate to the amino acids, or not even just plants, but the foods that relate to the amino acids, can definitely help with navigating the transit. So here for gate 38, I wrote, the fight of the warrior is the fight of honor. The warrior spirit is one that chooses to die in the battle in the face of persecution, staying true to their values and heart. To oppose, which is to compete, disapprove, or compare, can be a valuable energy for sustaining life, but it can also keep us in programs of battle and discord when it's unnecessary. So here it's a reminder that, yes, there is definitely reasons or opportunities for us to be fighting against things, and that is natural for life. Not everything you are going to be so passive about. There are going to be times in our life that we do have to speak up about things and fight against things. We see that right now within our political climate. There are a lot of people who feel the need to speak up and just respond to some of the legislation that is looking to be passed, like Project 2025 and many other things. And of course, when we are seeing society take a turn where it feels like we're moving backwards in life, it's going to be really important to stand and fight against that so we can move forward, because we're literally here to evolve and get better and not get worse. So here it says, this month, consider choosing your battles and choosing only battles worth putting your heart on the line for. Also, here's a reminder to keep the faith when the battle is yours to win. The path of a hero is one of faith and action, conspiring to bring spirit's medicine here to earth. So when we remind ourselves that we are here to be fighters, we are here to use our physical bodies to move life forward, then we know what battles are worth our vital force and energy and what battles are not worth our vitality. So gate 38 is a reminder that it's okay to be a fighter. It's okay to be a warrior, but remember, choose what you are fighting and choose what you're being a warrior for. And sometimes taking the path of peace is also just as honorable. I'm going to quickly make a comment on President Biden choosing to step down in terms of being a candidate for the Democratic at the party for the next election. And I think that was a very honorable thing to do. When we see that a warrior oftentimes has to make a decision to go against their own ego and make a decision that is for the benefit of all people. So whether you agree that he is a good president or not, or should be president or not, I think it was admirable of him to say, you know what, if I run, there's a big chance, one, I'm not going to win, but also that our country as a whole may be liable and just up against, more scrutiny, more division if I choose to be president, or if I choose to run compared to if I don't. So I think that is a sign of honor and a warrior spirit, and being able to say, let me do what's best for the people, because part of what a hero does is put the majority before themselves. All right, so now let's talk about the writing prompts for this new moon in Cancer that recently passed. And here are the writing prompts. It says, in what ways do I oppose myself? Because again, one of the themes was self-denial, and there's many ways that we deny ourselves or oppose the things that we want because our adrenals may not be, up to par. We may not be physically in the right environment, and all of these things keep us from being able to move forward. Next is, how can I use my gifts more wisely? Because sometimes we're fighting battles that we don't need to be fighting, and we just need to redirect our energy towards what we can change in the present moment. Next is, in what ways have I been guarded? Because it's Cancer season, and Cancer is a crab, and Cancers tend to be hard-headed, hard-shelled, and it's all about how do we, still show up as ourselves and still show up as someone who has a heart, but not necessarily let our hearts or our emotions overrun us so that we're not making proper decisions. And the last writing prompt that you guys can journal on is, what can I release to improve my lifestyle well-being? For me, it was releasing that apartment, but for you, it might be something else you need to release. For me, I'm also working on releasing the past. I'm a Cancer rising, and Cancer risings often have a hard time with letting go of the past. We tend to ruminate or think about things and experiences that happened to us. And even though sometimes that's good for processing and being able to come to terms with what happened, sometimes too much overthinking can actually keep us in a cycle or a feedback loop of negativity that we don't want to receive. So part of releasing the past for me has been clearing people on social media who I feel like promote negativity or make me feel negative because some of the things they say. Sometimes you also can tell when people are subtweeting you. And if I feel like I'm subtweeted, even though I've been guilty of it myself, I have now known that it's okay to mute and block people, and that's fine. So let's see. Yeah, think about what you can do or what you can release to help improve your lifestyle. And it could even be releasing an app. I noticed of all the social media apps, TikTok and Twitter are probably the two apps that I feel like overall the algorithm lean towards clickbait and rage bait and a little more negativity. So maybe consider slowing down on those apps or releasing them for a time as you're trying to regulate your nervous system. All right, and lastly, for this full moon or this new moon in Cancer, let's talk about some Easter eggs. In every single one of my videos, I give you guys an Easter egg or another form of enjoyment, like kind of guiding you towards content or something else that you can take a look at that can kind of help one de-stress you, but also kind of give you a wormhole that you can go down and adventure down to learn a little bit more about yourself as well as connect to the transit. So for gate 38 and gate 39, the Easter egg I have for this transit is watching two shows. One is Owning Manhattan and the other one is Bling Empire. So Owning Manhattan is a show where we see, if I'm correct, his name is Ryan Serhant, which is the owner of Serhant Realty, and he is a realtor in New York City who basically shows you his entrepreneurial skill on buying and selling very, very lavish properties. And why I really love that is with that show in particular is that as a realtor, realtors go through so much negotiation and so much being able to navigate being told no, dealing with struggle, dealing with obstacles, having to sell really high priced properties to people and finding that target client and moving around a lot of things to get to what they want, which is the money. So since I was talking about wealth and since this new moon in Cancer is in the 14th degree and I talked about gate 14 in human design, I figure Owning Manhattan would be a great show to check out. I've learned a lot from him just watching the show. I thought it was one genius. I also think that he's a great actor human in terms of he's just very much himself and such a personality, but he really shows you that you can get wealthy, but you can also learn how to work with the obstacles that you have and still make it work for you and create wealth. Next is watch a Bling Empire. So this is all about wealth, right? Bling Empire is a show that gives very much Crazy Rich Asian vibes, and it's just really fun. It is of course kind of reality based TV, so you can grab some popcorn, have a guilty pleasure night of binge watching this show. But what I love is that you're seeing the lives of people that are different from you, and it can really help you learn how to navigate your own life and purpose. Because what I notice watching rich and wealthy people is that, one, they very rarely take no for an answer, and two, they do try to keep the energy positive. I'm not saying that they don't go through life and have certain issues, but they really try to navigate around drama. Like, even though the show does have elements of drama, we see that a lot of them are like, well, I'm actually really not about it. I just want to focus on this, or I just want to focus on that. So it's a reminder that, yeah, life happens, but even them who are still dealing with life, they're able to navigate it and again, create wealth. So let's see. So the quote again for gate 39 that I put, without irritating grains of sand, oysters would never make pearls. I really want that to be a reminder for you guys. And I'm also going to put the quote and the link where I found this quote, because I also want to make sure I share my sources. But yeah, it's just a reminder that life goes on. We are here to evolve. We're here to push past obstacles. And no matter what we do, there will always be obstacles. So it's about surrendering, going with the flow, and also picking our battles. And yeah, my battle was getting this video out. My battle was being able to navigate being in a home space that wasn't ideal for me and figuring out ways to work around it. Even right now, my battle is dealing with this weak lighting as I made this video, but it shows that if you want to get something done, you can do it. So I love you guys. I'm going to be recording the next video. So if you happen to have passed this live, come back. And again, this video is timeless, so feel free to watch this video as well as my next video, which will be the full moon in Capricorn. That was July 21st, 22nd. I will be covering a little more about the energy that we've been experiencing, and I wish you guys a beautiful home, a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and I actually am going to quote spiritualistic when I say this, a beautiful incarnation in this world. So thank you, and I'll see you in my next video.